right, so we'll get started. I want to welcome everybody and wish everybody a happy Friday. I'm Adam Berezin from MSDynamicsWorld.com, and I'd like to thank everyone for attending today's session. I'm actually really excited to be able to present today's session as we're going to be discussing ways that you, ISVs, can leverage our large community of Dynamics customers and partners to ultimately do three things, which are generate leads, create awareness, and position yourselves as thought leaders and experts in the eyes of your prospects. We actually decided to run this session because even though we work with hundreds of ISVs, there are actually still some ISVs out there who really just think of us as a publisher and don't know about the other part of our business, which is providing targeted online lead generation programs to ISVs. So just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions, please feel free to submit them in the Q&A box on the right side of your screen, and I will be sure to get to every one of them at the end of the session. I'm also going to be recording the session, and I'll send you the link once it's been posted online, which will hopefully be in the next few days. Okay, so what are we going to cover today? We're going to be touching upon a few things. First, I'd like to just tell you about MSDynamicsWorld.com, or MSDW as we call it. Chances are, as I mentioned earlier, if you're attending the session, you've most likely never used our marketing programs before and are more familiar with us on the publishing side, but I'll be discussing ways we help ISV marketers. Next, we'll be discussing ways you can engage our site members. Then we'll be going over some of the challenges ISVs have when it comes to marketing their solutions to people in the Dynamics community, as well as how we solve those challenges. And after that, we'll wrap up the session with some Q&A. So, getting right into it, at MSDW, we essentially do three things for ISVs to help them succeed. Number one is create awareness. We give ISVs lots of exposure in many different ways to our site members, which I'll explain in a little bit, helping them to position their brand. Number two is deliver a powerful message. I would say that you should never underestimate the importance of positioning your company as experts and thought leaders within the Dynamics niche you occupy. This is a critical element to the success of any ISV, actually, and at MSDW, we know exactly how to help you achieve this. And number three, and I would say it's the most important, is generate targeted sales leads. So whether you want to reach Dynamics customers and or partners or very specific segments of the Dynamics community, this is really our bread and butter and probably the biggest benefit to working with us on the marketing side. Now, how well you can do numbers 1 and 2 will obviously directly impact your ability to generate leads. So who do we write for at MSDW? Who are the types of people that join our community? Since our inception in 2008, actually, we create content that is designed to ultimately attract decision makers and decision influencers, those senior level personnel. We actually do this purposely because it allows us to provide incredibly high quality marketing programs and targeted marketing programs to ISVs. Our site members are mainly comprised of Dynamics customers and partners. So a little bit more about our readers and about MSDW. MSDW, we launched in January of 2008. And leading up to our launch, actually, it's funny, I remember speaking with about 40 to 50 different ISVs, asking them the ways that they generate leads in the Dynamics market. And at the time, there were essentially two choices. You could exhibit at in-person trade shows, or you could rent lists. And to clarify, I'm not a fan of renting lists. I've never been a list rental fan. So one reason we created MSDW was to be a targeted online marketing platform for Dynamics ISVs. Also, prior to our launch, there wasn't a dedicated resource out there for people in the Dynamics community to keep up to date with the latest news in the market and learn ways for enhancing the operational efficiencies of their business through the use of their Dynamics platform. So we've really been able to accomplish both of those things, and actually we're the world's largest content resource for the Dynamics community. We have over 55,000 active site members, and by active, I mean people who have registered as members and log into the site multiple times each month to download content, read articles, and attend webcasts. As I mentioned previously, we try to create content that appeals specifically to executives, and 61% of our entire member base consists of those executive-level personnel, business decision makers, and influencers. We have a worldwide presence, and as you can see by the breakdown, we have the most site members out of North America, but have a strong presence in Europe and Asia Pacific, and we are also building up our member base in South America. In terms of product focus, we have over 17,000 AX-focused site members, over 16,500 CRM members, over 13,500 NAV-focused members, little over 13,000 GP members, and slightly more than 3,700 SL and RMS members. And just to clarify, we've never really made SL or RMS a huge priority in terms of content focus, although we do have content that does focus on those two products. So, as I mentioned earlier, MSDW is much more than a publisher. Last year, ISVs who participated in our marketing programs generated a combined 50,000 targeted leads, and I'll explain exactly how they did that in a couple of minutes. And actually, since May of 2014, Microsoft has endorsed all of our marketing programs, and we are a member of the Microsoft Marketing Services Bureau, which is very exciting for us. Okay, so now that you know a little bit more about MSDW, I want to get into some of the marketing challenges we hear from our ISVs. So we work with hundreds of ISVs, as I mentioned earlier, but ISVs who haven't yet worked with us seem to have difficulty in generating quality leads within the Dynamics community, but more importantly, generating them consistently throughout the year. And we've actually found that there are several challenges that ISVs face. Challenge number one, developing and executing a comprehensive plan for lead generation. Lots of ISVs don't really have a diversified marketing plan or even a marketing plan to begin with, and I would say that they can be placed into one of three categories. ISV number one, they only exhibit at trade shows. These ISVs will exhibit at lots of Dynamics trade shows, and they'll really do no other marketing activities for the year. And just to clarify, trade shows aren't a bad option. I actually enjoy them. But you need to market your company and solutions online as well, because people always start the solution research process by looking online for information. So if a Dynamics customer has a need, they're not going to wait 5 months until the next trade show to research ways on how to fill their need. They're going to look online, and if your prospects can't find you online, there's a strong possibility that your competitors will capitalize on this. And the most important thing I should add about being online is where you choose to be present online. So, for example, does it make sense to pay a ton of money to run Google ads, or does it make more sense to have a strong presence on a site like MS Dynamics World, which attracts thousands of prospects in the Dynamics community? And then ISV number two, they don't do any marketing at all, and they solely rely on partners to try to market their solutions. In my opinion, this is a huge mistake made by many ISVs, as partners will only really sell ISV solutions if their customers have an immediate need that the partner can't fill. So, for example, a partner's priorities are selling Dynamics, selling services, then selling their own solutions, and then really, if all else fails, selling ISV solutions. ISVs who spend countless hours trying to get partners to market their solutions are really missing out on lots of opportunities. And then the third type of ISV that we run across are ISVs that might exhibit at 1 or 2 trade shows but spend tons of money on Google ads, renting lists, and social media, none of which I would actually classify as direct marketing or even something that you should spend a lot of effort on. The second challenge faced by many ISVs is being able to effectively track your cost per lead, or CPL. And I put this up there because the reason why this is so important is because it will clearly show you the marketing investments that are paying off and the ones that aren't. So even though numbers don't lie, there's really a psychological element to sounding out your CPL. So if you're a marketer, for example, who's been doing the same thing year after year, you've most likely developed a strong sense of comfort with what you're doing. So if you start figuring out your CPL, it might force you to change some of your marketing habits, and in general, people just don't like to change. So many times, ISVs won't even try to figure out their CPL because they're afraid that the data will force them to change their marketing investments or strategy or plan, and ultimately step outside of their comfort zone. The third challenge faced by many ISVs is creating content. So there are really ISVs that want to create content but lack resources to do so, and others that really don't feel the need to create any content at all. But I would say to those people that content is one of the most powerful tools you can have as an ISV to accomplish brand awareness, thought leadership, positioning, and lead generation. It's really a must-have for all ISVs. And by content, I mean you can develop white papers, customer case studies, product brochures, demos, webcasts, infographics, articles, et cetera, et cetera. There are really tons of different content formats that are highly effective for generating leads. And it's important to generate content in different formats because people's content consumption habits are very different. So, for example, some of your prospects may just prefer to watch webcasts while others might like to just download white papers. So developing content in these different formats will help you maximize your reach among your prospects. And I want to add, too, that if you don't know where to go to create content or how to create content, or if you want to put together a content strategy, I'd be more than happy to discuss it with you, so feel free to contact me after this session. The fourth challenge, which I kind of think might be the most important one, is a willingness to get out of your comfort zone. And this really it just doesn't apply to figuring out your CPL, as I mentioned earlier, but also making sure that your brand and message go where your prospects go. So, for example, if your prospects are on MSDW, you need to have a presence on MSDW. If they go to the UG Summit, for example, then you should be there too. And it's not really a question of one or the other. Getting out of your comfort zone will enable you to diversify your marketing investments, which is incredibly important, thus, once again, maximizing your reach among your target prospects or your target audience. So here's how we solve some of those challenges. Okay, so ultimately our marketing programs have three goals: to help ISVs create awareness, position themselves as thought leaders and experts and consultants, and generate targeted dynamics customer and or partner sales leads. The programs we've been running for 8 years were created to solve the marketing challenges faced by many ISVs, as we discussed in the previous slide. And as the marketing needs of ISVs evolve, as we found, so have our programs in order to continue to meet those needs. Now, we have more programs that are actually than what's listed up here, but I wanted to highlight our most popular and successful offerings, which are the Content Lead Generation Program, Hyper-Targeted Webcast Promotion, ISV Software Selection Series, and our Lead Generation Starter and Accelerator packages. So the Content Lead Generation Program, this is really the first lead generation program that we launched about almost 8 years ago, actually. And it's still to this day one of the most successful programs that we offer, and it's very simple to use. And in fact, all of our programs are very easy to use, regardless of whether you're an experienced marketer or someone who's brand new to online marketing. And how this program works is that we actually take your content in the form of your white papers, ebooks, infographics, case studies, solution brochures, and we post all of them to MS Dynamics World. And once they're posted to the site, they're all linked to your very own lead collection system, which you access simply by logging into MSDW. And what this lead system does is it captures the complete contact info and business interests of our site members who choose to download any piece of your posted content. And when you log into this lead collection system, you can export all the data and put it into your own CRM or marketing automation system if you use one. And if you do use one, we can even link the lead system to any CRM or marketing automation system, which will automatically push the leads through to your own system in real time. So in addition to people finding your content by browsing our site, we also send out an email blast each month promoting one of your posted white papers, ebooks, or infographics to a targeted group of Dynamics community members. And the great thing about this program, and really any of our programs, is that we can target the exact group of people that you want to reach. So for example, if you want to promote your content to AX users in the manufacturing industry who focus on shop floor control and are based in Scotland, I mean, we could literally build an entire campaign for you around those specifications. So that's a huge advantage of working with us. So next is the hyper-targeted webcast program. And I always like to say, and we've heard this too, is that this is literally the easiest webcast you'll ever run. And this program is actually so effective and so popular that we run about 150 webcasts each year. And last year, the webcasts we ran were attended by more than 11,500 people in the Dynamics community. As I just mentioned, our webcast program is designed to be the easiest webcast program you'll ever use. And how it works is you create the content since you're the experts, but we take care of all of the logistical elements of your session. So we host it, moderate it, develop the registration page, and promote your session in 3 email blasts over a 2-week period. So after the session runs, you're sent a report containing the contact info and business interests of every person who registered and attended your session. We also record the session, post it online, and then send you the video file as well to use in your own marketing promotions. And I also want to note, too, that during the registration process, you also have the option to ask people to state where they are in the buying cycle for the type of solution you offer. So, for example, let's say you're a business intelligence BI-focused ISV. You could ask people to select the time frame for when they're looking to purchase a BI solution, and they could choose 1 to 3 months, 4 to 6 months, 7 to 12 months, or more than 12 months, and you get all that data at the end of the session. So it makes your lead follow-up much more effective and efficient. So moving on, next we have our ISV Software Selection Series, which is an awesome program. I love this offering, actually. And it's really designed to attract people in the later stages of the buying cycle for the type of solution that you have to offer. So we run an AP automation series, a marketing automation series, a series on BI and reporting, EDI, and many, many others. And we're always adding more series, and we can also create custom ones for individual ISVs. And how the program works is it's broken out by Dynamics products. So I'll just take the BI series, for example, where we run 4 webcast sessions, BI for AX, for GP, CRM, and NAV. And each session actually includes the following elements: a sponsor panel, which is moderated by somebody from my team, where you and 2 of your peers will discuss best practices and strategies for selecting a BI solution, for example. Then there's survey results. We actually present research findings from our latest customer and partner survey. And then next are product demos, where each sponsor will give a live 10-minute demo to the audience, and at the end is live Q&A from the audience. So this is, once again, a phenomenal program for attracting people who are looking to select a vendor for the type of solution that you have to offer. And then there's actually the lead generation starter and accelerator packages. So the lead generation starter and accelerator packages are specifically designed for ISVs who haven't worked with us before. They are, I would say, the easiest way to test the waters with us without making a huge investment. The lead generation starter package consists of your own webcast, which, as we just went over in the previous slide from the hyper-targeted webcast program, it consists of all those elements. So we host it, promote it, and moderate it. You also get a separate email blast that you can use to promote your company, solutions, or presence at an upcoming event, and the opportunity to post your white papers, ebooks, case studies, brochures, and press releases to our site for 1 year. The Lead Generation Accelerator package consists of all the elements found in the starter package, plus 3 months of content lead generation. Each of these offerings are actually heavily discounted from standard rates, and we do that because what typically happens is when people use these programs, they get such good results that they just keep doing more and more programs with us. So I don't have a problem at all discounting the Lead Generation Starter and Accelerator packages. So here's just what a few ISVs have to say about us. If I can characterize what makes these companies so successful, as well as all the other ISVs who work with us, is really 3 things. They're A, not afraid to step out of their comfort zone. B, they market consistently throughout the year to our members. And C, they have diversified marketing plans, which include many of our programs in combination with things that we don't offer, like in-person trade shows. So that's the end of the presentation. I thought I'd sort of make it nice and short and sweet. So if anybody has any questions, please feel free to type them into the Q&A box, and I will get to them. So I'll give people just a couple of minutes to collect their thoughts. Okay, so someone's asking, what kind of content do I need for doing webcasts? It really depends on what you're trying to do. I always like to go by something that I call sort of the 85 to 15 rule, where 85% of the content that you give in a webcast should be educational and strategy focused. So, for example, if you're doing a presentation on AP automation, you could be talking about issues that people are facing, by not automating their accounts payable or invoice processing. You could be discussing trends in the industry. And then sort of after you've done 85% of the presentation, focusing on that educational content, the last 15% can be self-promotional. So you can talk about your product. You can even give a demo. See if anybody's got any more questions. Someone's asking if there's an editorial calendar and availability for 2017. We'll actually be putting that together. We have an editorial director for the site. His name is Jason Gumpert, and Jason will be putting that together, I would say probably within the next month or two. Okay, someone's asking another question. This is a good question. Is it possible that I could take a webcast I do with you and turn it into content? That's an excellent question. And the answer is yes. We actually employ tons of professional writers on our staff. And sometimes what they'll actually do is if people don't have, another good resource or an internal resource for creating content, they'll run webcasts with us, and then what we'll do is we'll actually take the content that was in the webcast and turn it into an ebook or a white paper or even some type of an infographic. And the reason why that's important, and if you recall what I mentioned earlier on in the presentation, is that people's content consumption habits are very different. So even though you're taking sort of the same subject and you're translating it into a different content format, it's not going to attract the same people, let's say, that attended the webcast, because some people like to view webcasts and others just prefer to view content in other formats. So that's a great question. Someone's asking me if I'll send the presentation. Yes, I'll be happy to. I'm recording the session and I'll post it online probably in the next day or so. Okay, so someone's asking, let me see. Okay, so someone's asking if we are a large ISV with a large marketing staff but are trying to break in this space, is this still a good fit? I believe if he's talking about the lead generation starter package or just getting into the dynamic space in general, yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter what size your marketing team is. If you have a solution that can integrate with one or more Dynamics platforms, there's always a way for you to effectively market it, to the Dynamics community. But as I mentioned earlier, you don't want to spend all of your effort on doing things that, aren't direct marketing. And by direct marketing, I mean, using our site to send out emails to specific segments of the Dynamics community who you absolutely want to reach, as opposed to, let's say, Google Ads, where you're sort of marketing indirect and you're kind of hoping that people will come to your site if they see you in a Google ad. So putting your efforts to direct marketing, which is stuff that we offer, I find is much more efficient. That's why we offer it. Okay, I'll just wait to see if anybody has any more questions. Okay, someone's asking a question about the lead generation starter package, and they're asking if they can set up a second ISV solution in the lead generation starter package without a webcast session. The answer is you can set up as many ISV solutions as you want once you're using the lead generation starter package, but the main driving force behind the lead generation starter package is the Webcast program, because posting your content on our site, if you were to just post your content without doing our content lead program or a Webcast program, it's still good because you're getting exposure to our site members, but that's really just what you're getting is exposure. Whereas with running a Webcast or doing a lead capture program, it gets you into sort of the habit of collecting actual leads, so you can walk away from the program with tangible results. Okay, so someone's asking, what is the advantage of using MSDW programs over doing a LinkedIn or Twitter campaign? The biggest thing, and I sort of touched upon this earlier, is direct marketing. So if you're doing something, if you run a Twitter ad campaign, you really don't, there's only so many things you can control about that Twitter ad campaign. You really can't, segment specific groups of people in the Dynamics community and only run Twitter campaigns or LinkedIn campaigns to them. You also have no clue when you're running social media campaigns what stage of the buying cycle your stuff is being promoted to. So, for example, if you want to promote content that or promote your company to people that are in the later stages of the purchase cycle, meaning they've sort of identified that they have a need and they've already done the research and gathered information, and now they're sort of in the vendor selection process. Social media has no way to tell you, what stage of the buying cycle those people are in, but that's something that our programs actually excel in because we capture that data from our site members. So we could literally run an entire campaign that's directed to people in the later stages of the purchase cycle for, let's say an inventory management solution or some other solution. See if anybody's got any more questions. I'll give people just another minute. And if you do want to contact me offline after the session, please feel free to. My contact info is right up there on the screen. Okay, here's a great question. Do you know, and it's putting me on the spot, but that's okay. Do you know how many of your sales leads are converted into actual sales? Every company that works with us, their sales cycle is different. We have companies that will work with us where their sales cycle is 3 months, and sometimes the sales cycle is 18 months. And there's only sort of so much information I can disclose about this, but I will say this, and I can talk about this because it's we did a case study on it, is that Scribe Software, who's a very well-known ISV, they invested $10,000 with us, and it actually resulted in $300,000 of revenue. So, from an ROI standpoint, basically for every $1 they spent, they generated $30. And we actually hear, Scribe is not an anomaly. I mean, we hear that stuff all the time from people who work with us. Okay, so someone is asking us, how many attendees do you usually have in a webinar session on average for the NAV channel? Interestingly enough, across the board, regardless of what product, we typically get anywhere between 85 to 100 people signed up for a webcast. There have been times where we've had people that have had over 400. I think actually the highest we've ever had was about 496. That was a few months ago. But the average is about 85 to 100. But we also have a very high attendance rate. We typically see, out of all those registrants who sign up, almost about 60% will attend the live session. The highest I've ever seen was about 89%. And then we always find that many more people will view your recorded session once we post it online on our site or on our YouTube channel. All right, let's see. Someone's asking, do you have to provide a GoToMeeting license, or do you provide a meeting software like WebEx? That's a good question. So if you recall early in the presentation, I mentioned that when you run a webcast with us, it's the easiest webcast you'll ever run, and that's because we literally take care of hosting of all the logistical elements. So we use WebEx for all of our sessions. So, regardless of whether or not you have a WebEx license, it doesn't matter because you're using, our platform to get in. Someone's asking if we'll be doing some type of a targeted campaign for Directions or the UG Summit. That's actually one of our programs, and I didn't touch upon it because it's more of an awareness program, but we often run something that's called our UG Summit Spotlight program, where we feature up to 10 UG Summit sponsors from the 4 different product groups that are being focused on at the summit. And we run an email blast campaign, and we create a special section on the site for the UG Summit where those 10 sponsors are hosted. So the answer is yes, and I can send you information after the session about it. See, any other questions? I'll just wait another minute to see if people have anything else to add. Okay, someone's asking, what is the biggest difference between the user groups and MSDW? That's a great question. Well, I guess in summary, and I don't have to get into too much detail on this. The user group, and we have a very strategic relationship and partnership with the user groups. They're actually a customer of ours as well. And really, they excel at doing things that, involve in-person meetings and in-person trade shows. That's really their strength. Whereas we do everything online. In terms of our audience, I would say the biggest difference between our audience is that, as I mentioned earlier, we primarily attract senior-level personnel, executive-level people, business users, business decision makers, and influencers, whereas the user group, they provide sort of more, or they attract more kind of hardcore techies and developers and system admins, and I think that's just the nature of their business because, they focus more on doing hands-on training. Okay. All right. Well, it looks like we don't have any more questions, but once again, I really want to thank everybody for taking the time on a Friday to attend this session. I hope you found it informative. As I mentioned a couple of times, this is recorded. I will send all of you the link to the recorded session probably the next day or so as soon as we get it uploaded. And if you have any further questions, please feel free to contact me directly. All right? Thanks so much, everybody.